Alright, back again, Luke here. And as you can see in front of me, this is that, what is it, the Sega CDX, the Genesis CDX, that I got in the mail here from Paul Giancola. And I think this thing was just supposed to be a little parts thing that he had sent out, which is kind of cool, because I'll get a chance to tinker around with it and see if I can get it working. It has the screws missing from it, and I think that was just because, you know, maybe the previous owner or so wanted to see the inside and check it out. There was a lot of rust on it, as you can see here. Never quite seen anything like this before, but yeah, it's got quite a bit of rust on there. So, nonetheless, let's see what we can do with this thing. Let's see if we can get this thing to turn back on. I don't know if it will or not. It looks like it's been pretty dead for a long time, but it's worth a shot. And I think, yeah, we'll just try and mess around with it here and see about making a progression video on what happens with it. But first things first, let's try and tear this thing down and scrub it up a little bit and at least put it back to semi-decent shape. Try and get rid of some of this rust. Probably have to scrape that out. Not going to come all the way out, but hopefully it'll come out somewhat. You can see it's kind of creeping on the bottom here. Hopefully that's not too... yeah, it's still solid, so that's okay. We'll try and get some of that rust out of there and go from there. So first things first, let's strip this thing down to its bare bones and try and scrub this thing up. Alright, so we have all of the components taken apart here, and which was one thing that was kind of nice about everything. Probably not in the best of ways, but basically all the screws were out of it. So with a little bit of fiddling here and there, I was able to get most of the components off and get the circuit boards out here. And one thing that I did notice is that the drive itself, the motor, as you can see, the motor was hanging off, and so is the pulley here. This thing's not bolted down there. I at first thought this was maybe somebody's kind of hack or you know, like mod to it, but it appears to be kind of stock. Maybe that's something that was on there before. I'm not sure. If I take a really close look at it, it's really fine soldering. So it's either that was either like that before, or someone's really good with a soldering pen, because those are some pretty fine traces on there. Some nice soldering. But one thing that I did also notice is that on the main board here, if this thing does not fire on, there might be several possibilities or reasons why. I don't know what this is. There's some sort of like gunk on here. It looks like it's bridging contacts on this point and other points around here, up here. I'm going to have to try and clean that up. But one thing I always love to find is this thing has a fuse. Yay. Fuses are a large part of many problems, so if this thing doesn't turn on or doesn't have any power, I'm guessing it'll be this fuse here, which is a 2.5 amp fuse. We'll come back to that a little bit later. First thing what I'm going to do is try and scrub this stuff up here, try and get off the rust on this. And I'm not going to soak this thing. It does have a window up here up front, has a lot of plastic components on the inside, so I'm probably not going to soak it in water. I'll just try and clean up the outside of it, and that should be good enough for it. Maybe I'll remove the battery tray on this and go around the top part here as well, but hopefully we'll be able to get this thing all cleaned up. And I'm going to have to go hunting for a lot of different screws, because this is one beast that's going to need a whole lot of replacement screws in order to get this thing going. And those are pretty small screws, so let's hope that I can find something that'll work with this. But we'll get on that and see what we can do with it, and try and scrub this rust up. Maybe take it outside and use a file on it and see if I can get that out of there a little bit. So let's get on that. Ooh, nice and lovely acid. Woohoo! Look at that. Got to love the acid. It's taking control of the plastic. I don't know why I threw that in there. Here's a little bit more here on the top. So we are going to have to try and scrub this up and neutralize this stuff. Get this cleaned up a little bit. Let's get on that and try and make sure that this thing still gets contact. We'll go and check the continuity of that, as well as the end over here, and see what we can do about getting that done. So, yeah, let's get on that. Alright, so as you guys can see in here, what I did is I looked around for some screws, and I managed to find some screws here. They aren't the exact screws for this, but they managed to work out for this part here. I found some screws that could hold this plate in here. These two screws here, these hold in the motor for the laser mechanism, and in the back here I had to kind of bevel it out a little bit to fit one of these kind of wider screws in there, because there's a certain depth in this, and if you put these screws in too deep, it would just cause the motor to stick just by turning it by hand. So I had to try and guess about where would be the correct level here for the screws and put those in. I cleaned up the laser mechanism, re-greased the rails. The motor's all kind of back together here. You can see the doors back together for the most part. This hinge isn't connected at the side there, but has the two screws on the side here, so this top lid is back to normal. I cleaned the inside of this part out, the cart slot, as well as the battery tray that was corroded. I cleaned that out a bit on the inside there. I still need to kind of clean around this edge a little bit, but that slot is completely cleaned out. I checked the fuse, and the fuse had no continuity, so I bridged it, and I know some people think, oh, why didn't you put in a new fuse? And, well, you know, I'm just trying to test to see if everything works out, and you know, put this thing back together, put all the screws back in it, you know, that I could find screw spots for. I found a US version AC adapter which puts out 10 volts. This thing accepts 9.5 volts, so it's not too much of a difference, so it should be alright. I have some screws in the bottom here, and a couple of these screw holes are a little bit loose, but nonetheless it's still got a little bit of rust on it. But guess what, guys? It works. I'm not gonna try and fake this at all. This is one that I have legitimately tried out just now, and it started up. So it's interesting, when I plugged the power in, I could hear the motor go like that, and the laser mechanism was kind of moving forward. And I thought, okay, that's a good sign. But yeah, it reads the disc, and the disc that was in there was Sonic CD, which is awesome. It's fantastic. But yeah, it doesn't read it like perfectly. I'm not sure if it could be due to the scratches on the bottom of the disc. It could be due to the fact that the laser mechanism is a little bit weak, or that, you know, I basically salvaged a parts CDX here into getting working again. But I'll show you this beast in action, so let's fire it up. Let's see, game. And there's that. And stops for a second. Is that not cool? It's alive! Sometimes here it, well, at least I just tried it one time, but it locked up a little bit at the beginning with the sound. Oh, wow, it's actually playing this time. Nice! That's pretty cool. The first time I put it in, it wasn't playing the music right away. But, yeah, guys, it's alive. Saved a CDX from the trash, and yeah, it's a wonderful little setup here. So let's see if it'll keep reading the disc. Yeah, it looks to be doing pretty good. Can you guys believe that that's, you know, something that was that kind of destroyed is now back alive again? Sometimes I amaze myself. But yeah, there it is. CDX, Genesis CDX, back alive from the grave, and that is totally awesome. So I'll put that beast up somewhere. Cool stuff. But yeah, that's about all for me for right now. Like always, I'll put up another video here soon, so thanks for watching.